Hi everyone, my name's Dylan, and today I'm going to show you how to edit a template in GoDaddy Studio. Now, working with templates is definitely the easiest way to fast track your design process, so I'm very excited to show you just how simple it is to start with one of our pre-existing designs like this, and in a matter of minutes transform it into something beautiful, unique, and perfectly suited to your brand. Okay, let's hop on to our template, and the first thing to do is take a look at our layers. Now, right at the top, you'll see there's that little sandwich stack icon. Tap on that, which will present your layers view. So that's going to give you a sense of the various elements that are on your canvas. From this view, you are also able to start shuffling the order of the layers around, which will affect how they appear on the canvas. You can also hold down on them to copy, duplicate, or lock a given layer. And if you would like to delete a layer, well, then you just hold down this little no entry icon next to it and you can then delete it. Okay, so that gives you a good overview of the various layers that make up a template. To select them, it's very easy. You would just tap on any given layer and that will isolate it and enable you to edit it. So let's start off with this central image. I've tapped on it now. It calls up this contextual menu, giving me a few options. So let's tap replace, and that'll take me to my Unsplash library, where I can now search for an alternative image of nails. And let's see. Yeah, that looks good to me. So I'll simply tap on that. It'll replace it on the canvas. And I then, of course, have the option to resize or reposition that image. You would also notice that now that I have that layer selected, a menu option, an editing menu appears beneath the canvas, where I can do things like add a different photo filter to this image. I can also start to fine-tune the image by editing it with this adjustment option, tweaking things like exposure, contrast, saturation, warmth, and so on. I can crop the image. You would notice that it currently is circular cropped on this canvas. I can remove that crop if I need to, but I think it actually looks pretty good the way it was with that circular crop. So I'm going to keep that and just change the aspect ratio ever so slightly. All right, and then yeah, you can change the size, you can add a shadow, adjust the opacity, blur the image. There are a ton of really powerful image editing tools available to you, and in due course in subsequent tutorials we will take a closer look at all of those. For now, I'm happy with the way this looks, so I'm just gonna leave that more or less there and move on to the next phase, which is editing the graphics on this template. So the process works very similar to what I just showed you with images. You would just tap on the graphic, select replace, and then within your graphics library, you can either search for something specific that you're looking for, or perhaps you would like to just browse through some of our latest collections and see if that gives you any new inspiration. What I'm going to do is pick from some of my collected graphics, because the more you play around with the GoDaddy Studio, the more you'll uncover your personal favorite or graphics that work particularly well with your brand. And it's always a good idea to save those so that they're easy to access at a later point, like now. So I'm going to pick this leaf, sort of illustrative leaf graphic. Looks pretty good over there, so I'll just pop that in the corner. And I think I'm going to do the same thing with this graphic at the bottom left. I'm going to select it, replace it with something that I've previously found and added to my collection. Just a little tip here, I've noticed that this graphic is sitting behind the image, the photographic image. If I go to my layer stack, I can modify that by just dragging it above the image. And I think that looks pretty cool with it overlapping like that. It adds a subtle sense of depth to my design, which I really like. Okay, let's see what else here. I think what would look really cool is maybe just a circular border around that photographic image. So to do that, I'm going to need a shape. On my bottom menu, you'll see that's an option for me there. I'm going to pick one of these, and I can very easily just fit that around my circular image, and it creates a nice border which gives it some separation from the background. I think the next thing I would logically want to change is this background graphic. It also uses a gradient, and to be honest, I quite like the look of that. I just am not crazy about the color, so I want to change it out for something that's more suited to my brand and my style. So I'll replace that, and I'm going to look in the same folder. So in other words, I'm going to look for a similar thing just in a different color. So let's try this. Yeah, I definitely prefer that. Now let's take a look at the text, because that's crucial, of course. Currently this is a Halloween promotion, but we are in fact doing this for a winter special. So let's just change that. And then once you've modified your text, you now have the option of picking a new font, which is always a lot of fun from my perspective anyway. And that's primarily because we have so many fonts to choose from. There are upwards of 600 different fonts in GoDaddy Studio. Some of the more popular ones come preloaded in your font tray. However, if you'd like to explore more, then navigate all the way to the left-hand side of that font tray. You'll see there's that little arrow, that upwards arrow. Tap on that, and that's going to take you into the full font library. And here there are, as I said, 600 plus options to choose from, and they are all arranged according to different stylistic collections. You can also navigate our most recently added fonts if you want something really fresh and on trend. And if you have your brand's own fonts saved to your device, you can of course add those to your library too. Okay, so for today I'm going to revert to one of my personal faves, which is Mantra. Yeah, I think that looks really good here, so I'm going to leave that there. And of course, changing the fonts is only one way you can edit your text. You can of course navigate all the way to the bottom menu, where you can start to do things like change the color, the size, add a shadow, shift the opacity, and so on. Something that's unique to fonts in the editing menu is the Style tab, where you can do things like change the spacing between letters and the spacing between lines. And if you want to, you can even add some curvature to your text, which can be really useful. But not today, because I think it looks great just the way it is, more or less. The big elephant in the room, of course, is that Boom Nails is not my logo. I need to delete that, so let's get rid of that and replace it with my brand's own, I should say my hypothetical brand's own logo. And to do that, I'm going to search in the graphics collection. At the bottom, I'm going to tap graphics. And what I didn't show you earlier is that right at the bottom of the graphics collection, you'll notice the logos folder. So previously I had created a separate logo in GoDaddy Studio, and I'd saved it to this logos folder. And so I'm just going to pick that and add it to this template now. So that's very easy to add. And what's cool about that is you can also start to make that logo any color you so desire. But for today, I'm going to keep it, I wouldn't say boring, but traditional, and keep it black. And I'm just going to put that in place. Of course, you are allowed to be a perfectionist and take a few extra minutes to make those final tweaks, but I hope that gives you an idea of just how easy it is to recreate a design from a template. And that's all there is to it. Try it out now for free on iOS, Android, or web. All the links you need are in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel to keep learning about this amazing tool. I'll see you next time.